Hello, here we are. We're in the middle of, we have finished the first week of NaNoWriMo. I'm Morgan Hazelwood, and this is mute. Okay, I've been doing NaNoWriMo since 2013. I tried twice before, lasted about 5 days and petered out. I find that typically the first 10K is about how far momentum takes me. And after that, it's just work, no matter how excited I am about the story. So let's talk about this NaNoWriMo. I have, quote unquote, won NaNoWriMo 5 times. Last year, I did a nano's worth of short stories. I've drafted some stuff. I've polished 2 of them. But yeah, so this year I'm doing sentient octopuses and a fantasy in space, and I did all these Preptober videos. And day 1, I sit down to write, and I absolutely hate my outline. I don't like it. I don't like where it's going. I need to reshape it. And I'm really not liking this. I'm a plantser. I like to know where I'm going and who's going there. And maybe some ideas of where I'm going along the way. But I don't like where I'm going, and I'm not quite sure what the emotional arc is. I kind of have some structure for the non-emotional arc. But yeah, I'm pantsing this one. For those of you unfamiliar, that means I'm writing by the seat of my pants. And it's a very uncomfortable place for me. I find it very stressful. Luckily, there's always the writer's fallback of taking a long hot shower and thinking about what happens next. I am keeping up with my words. I am currently at, let's take a quick look, tools, word count. I am at 13,207 words. I've done about half my words for the day. So I'm keeping up, but at least 50% of my words have been world building and background and info dumps that are probably not going to exist in any later drafts. But rough drafts are for you. They are not for your audience. They are not for, whatever. So it's useful. It's definitely useful stuff. It's stuff I need to know for the story. It's world building. It's very useful things. But it's not necessarily great writing. So why am I struggling so much? Well, I haven't decided where she's going, the main character. I don't know. I know what she thinks she wants, but I don't know what she actually wants. There's a disconnect there. And I'm trying to stretch myself. I usually write sweet, thoughtful fantasy stuff. And I'm trying to do sci-fi, which I've never done before, but I do love world building. So that's not too much of the struggle. But I felt that for a fairy tale, it needs a more lyrical feel. And I do not write lyrically. Typically, that's not my default. So the voice has been a bit of a stretch for me, but I love it. And I love the way it fits with the story and what I'm trying to do with the story. But it's not my normal viewpoint. I do enjoy first person. And when I have done third person point of view in the past, it's been close third person, which is basically first person only with he said, she said, instead of I said, they said. So taking a little further step back and trying to be more descriptive, because I do focus in on the plot and the internal monologue, and sometimes I forget about the scene setting and that sort of thing. And so for a more lyrical approach, I definitely need more description and more things like that. I do find myself using the phrase, the woman who was once the girl from the stars, over and over again. But I do love that tone. And every time I use it, it reminds me to lean into that lyrical sort of feel. So yeah, NaNoWriMo, it's rough. It is. I know that there are some people out there who can do 10K in a day. That's not me. I can get my words in for the day. 1 year I did a nano and a half, so I did that many words per day, but I have done over 3,000 words in a single day fewer times than I have fingers on my right hand. So if I fall behind, I will not be able to catch up. And thus, I have to make sure I sit down every day if I'm going to get my words in. And so, I try to give myself a little wiggle room by finishing out the paragraph or the page when I am sprinting and trying to get my words in, so that I do have a little wiggle room. But no matter how much wiggle room I have, I make sure I hit that 1,667 words per day, because if I don't, I'm never going to make it to 50K. It's not how I write. And I recognize there are people who write faster and there are people who write slower. For me, my more natural pace is probably about 30,000 words per month instead of 50,000. With 50,000, there are a lot of things that slip during November. Relationships with other people, cleaning, laundry, what have you. A lot of my downtime is gone, and that definitely ups my stress levels. So for me, a NaNoWriMo while working a full-time day job is not actually a sustainable pace, but I can do it once a year. And I do love the community, and this is when I do most of my drafting, and I spend the rest of my life editing. I need to figure out a way to get a faster editing process, but you live with what you got. So yeah, I am moving forward. I am making steady progress. It's not stuff I love, but you can't edit a blank page is what they always say. I know writing more cleanly is better because then you have less editing, but the story's not quite there yet. So while I was getting ready to write one day, I sat down and I was like, I wonder, do I think in words? And then my brain broke. I literally couldn't figure out how to think because I was trying to watch myself think to see if I think in words. And I think I've sorted it out. I think. I believe I think partially in words and partially in concepts, which makes perfect sense because when I dream, I'm not a very visual person. I usually think, I'm at grandma's house, but it's not really grandma's house. It's organized like this and it's shaped like that. But the word in my head is grandma's house, but the context is just a mental image of, without even being visual, a mental concept of a house that is shaped like this with this sort of flavor. And when I read books, when I read characters' names, very often I don't even bother learning how to pronounce them. I just see that symbol, and in that symbol, it represents a tone and an attitude and the history and all those things that go with that character. So when I realized that's how I'm actually thinking, that made perfect sense because that's how I process other things as well, just being very conceptual with a few key ideas or concepts that I use that goes with that flavor or what have you. So for this NaNoWriMo, just like the last two, I have really been enjoying 15-minute word sprints. When I'm writing, I find 15 minutes is about right. When editing, 20 minutes or longer is definitely better for me because I find editing takes a lot more focus. Where writing, I can do in little scraps and sections. But for editing, I worry a lot about pacing, and sometimes that can get repetitive. So if I'm not reading a chapter in a row, I might not notice that I'm saying the same thing over and over again because I think of different ways to say the same thing, and then I have to pick which one of those I'm going to keep. But obviously, that doesn't happen during NaNoWriMo. NaNoWriMo is not for editing. You got to turn off that inner editor and just move forward. When I have found myself getting stuck, I have been putting in backstory. I have been putting in world building. I am probably also going to be adding in secondary characters' backstories and world building mythology and stuff like that, because that is one of my more favorite parts of world building. And I like to have those in there. And I need to know this stuff, even if it's not going to be on the page. So that's definitely one way I do. So yeah, NaNoWriMo 2020, frustrating yet slowly getting there is probably how I would sum it up. My first day of NaNoWriMo, I set aside like 14 hours to sit in the chair and get the words down. And I made stew and I cleaned my baseboards, and it took me until my last writing sprint at 11:40 p.m. before I got 1,667 words. For me personally, I find no matter how long I have, my words will expand to take up that amount of time. So I actually work better with a deadline and a shorter time frame to get those words in. I don't know how you work. That's just how I work. But now that we're on day, 8? I think it's going to go better. I, in the past, have proven to be very motivated by not breaking a streak. If I've managed to do it in the past, I don't want today to be the day that I let myself down. That's how I turned into a blogger and a vlogger and a podcaster, because I do it once or twice, and then I don't want to have this be the week I let it all fall apart. And so yeah, I do let myself count words after midnight before I go to bed, and I'll go in and I'll do the edit word count and mark it for the previous day. Because if it happens before I go to bed, it's yesterday's words. So I don't think that really counts as cheating, because bedtime is what separates days, not time zone or what have you. Plus, 1 a.m. Eastern time is still yesterday for, plenty of the US. So it's not that much of a stretch. And I rarely start writing before 9 p.m. on weekdays or 4 p.m. on weekends. So it's not like I've been working since 9 a.m. and stealing some time from the next day. That's just not how I roll. So thank you for tuning in. Let me know if you're doing NaNoWriMo, how it's going for you. Tell me about your story. I'd love to hear it. And I'll be back again next week to let you know if NaNoWriMo is still going so well. I am unsure where my plot is going to take me next week. I hope I figure it out soon. I might have to take a few more showers. We'll see. Bye-bye.